If you're an author or plan to be one, get excited because this podcast is for you. Book Marketing Mentors is the only podcast dedicated to helping you successfully market and sell your book. If you're ready for empowering conversations with successful marketing mavens, then grab a coffee or tea and listen in to your host, international best-selling author Susan Friedman.
Listeners, I'm excited to share some good news. Podcast Connections is our brand new episode sponsor. If you feel your book deserves more reach but visibility hasn't come easily, podcast guesting can open the right doors. The team at Podcast Connections gets you in front of the audiences who need your message and your expertise. If podcast guesting is something you're interested in, please contact them at podcastconnections.co and tell them you heard about them on the Book Marketing Mentors podcast. And now, let's get on with the show. Welcome to Book Marketing Mentors, the weekly podcast where you learn proven strategies, tools, ideas, and tips from the masters. Every week, I introduce you to a marketing master who will share their expertise to help you market and sell more books. Today, my special guest is Elizabeth Henson. She's the powerhouse behind Elizabeth Henson Inc. and the Community Growth Lab, and honestly, one of the freshest, most needed voices in community-based marketing today. While everyone else is burning out on the content hamster wheel, Elizabeth is out there helping 6- and 7-figure businesses turn their communities into relationship-driven marketing machines. Her signature system doesn't just build engagement, it creates true connection that converts, scales, and actually feels good. Elizabeth, what an absolute pleasure it is to welcome you to the show, and thank you for being this week's guest expert and mentor.
Thank you for having me, Susan. It's always kind of fun and humbling to hear my bio read to me.
I know, it's like, who's she talking about?
I know, like, that's me?
I love it. I'm going to go right into this because when you or your agency pitched me for a podcast, I was like, wow, I've never had anybody on the show talking about community-based marketing. Let's start at the very beginning, which is always a great place to start. Tell us, what exactly is community-based marketing?
To me, community is marketing, and marketing is community, right? But imagine what's possible when you have this community around your brand. We've all seen it happen with brands that we love, whether we know it or not. And they're kind of building your business for you. I tell people all the time that community-based marketing will make your business not only simple, but profitable. And what I mean by community-based marketing, because people are like, what makes that different than sales funnels and all the actual marketing? But it's having that vision that is so clear and that mission that is so clear that people automatically know this is bigger than me and I want to be part of it. I like to say, think about the last time you went to an in-person event that was like really exciting. Like you were so excited to be there for your business or your book or to learn something new, self-development. You know, you think about people go to these big Tony Robbins events and you walk in and this adrenaline is just pumping and you're like, this is so much bigger than me and I'm excited to be here. That's how we want our audience to feel about our brand. We want them to immediately know who we are and how we're making the world better so that they're like, heck yes, I need to be part of this. That feeling that I'm describing, that's really the essence of community-based marketing. And so much of that comes from us as the leader, as a business owner, a writer. You're automatically a leader. And that magnetic leadership is what attracts people to not just you, but your mission in that way.
That sounds so much more personal than simply just building an audience or collecting followers. So many of my listeners feel the pressure to constantly post and market and stay visible. But Why do you believe that this sort of connection matters more than content?
If we can't sell to 10 people, we can't sell to 10,000, right? And I think that's such a misconception of like, oh, if I just have more people, my business will run better. It'll solve all my problems. And that's really not true because if you're not selling or entertaining or keeping 10 people around, then that's going to continue to be hard. More doesn't solve that problem. I really encourage people to start with just one person or start with 10. And if you can really nurture that environment and those people are raising their hands saying, I want more of you, then we start to work on the scaling and the inviting more people. But it really has to start with that small group. And I know so many people with small audiences that make millions of dollars and so many people with massive audiences that are not making much money at all. They're really not connected in the way that we think they are.
It's interesting that you say that because I know that when I work with some of my colleagues and they have 10 plus thousand people, 100,000 people on their lists, and they say it's only a small number of those people who are actually the serious ones. So don't get blindsided by numbers, I often say. Let's dig deeper into getting started. You say, okay, let's build a small number first. So, what does that mean? What does that look like? How would I even start the process?
Yeah, it's funny because when people are writing books is actually an example that I use all the time when I share this. It's what I call sharing the journey, which seems obvious, but like you and I talked about before we hit record, a lot of times writers think they have to wait until the book is ready. When I first dipped my toes into entrepreneurship, I was a photographer. And photographers, it was the same thing. I'll launch my photography business when my website is ready. But it's actually the opposite. You want to share the journey. So as you're writing the book, you want to be sharing about it, talking about it, building that audience. And when I started my photography business, it was the same thing. I had a blog sharing about it before I was even good. I mean, to the extent of like, hey guys, look, I got a blurry background for the first time. I was taking everyone along with me on this journey of improving and getting better. And by the time I launched my business and was ready to actually accept payment for my photography skills, it was like I had a line out the door because when you're sharing the journey, people are going to follow because they're interested. Maybe they're interested in seeing if you actually succeed or fail, but they're still following along. But most of the people are just going to be so invested in your passion and your journey that they're going to want the gold at the end of the tunnel, right? The light at the end of the tunnel. Like, oh my God, her book is finally here. She's been talking about it for a year and sharing all these things about how happy it makes her and how passionate she is about it. People are going to be so ready to buy it. So that sharing the journey piece is really like the most important part. And there's vulnerability in that. You have to be willing to be imperfect. I had to show my really bad pictures in order to sell the really good ones. And most people are afraid of showing up in a way that might expose them as imperfect or vulnerable, but that's what builds the trust.
I love that. And as soon as you said that word, I was like, yes. Again, it's getting personal because you don't necessarily want to show things that don't work for you, how you might have failed at something, but yet that's sort of the human side of it. I mean, things happen, things go wrong, don't work the first time around, but yet people think, oh, I can't show that side of me because it won't make me look good. I
Yeah.
know I went through that for many years. Got
Yeah.
over
And
that
I
one.
saw a really funny quote that was like, if you're not cringing at your old self, then you're not growing.
Ooh.
And it's like, if I didn't look at those old pictures and cringe, then I wouldn't have been any better at it.
Hmm.
And I laugh at myself because I'm like, I'll cringe at something I posted yesterday.
That's got to be planned out. I mean, this just doesn't happen. Talk to us about the planning of this.
There is planning, but I think there's also a lot where we're intuitively guided and just fully expressed and open to sharing the journey. And then with something like writing a book, you obviously don't want to share the entire book as you're writing it, but the journey and maybe the vacation that you took to get inspired and things that people are going to connect to so that when they read it or they're in the process of ordering or buying it, they're going to say, oh my gosh, I remember when she told the story about sitting in that rocking chair and getting the inspiration from this beautiful view or a trip with her grandmother. Now I'm like seeing it happen in real life. People get really attached to our stories and our journeys, and they want to see it unfold. I work with a lot of digital creators, and sometimes that first beta launch is their most successful one. And it's because they show up and say, I haven't done this before, but I'm really excited to try. And if I can find 10 people that are willing to go through my course or test out my program, that would mean the world to me. And people buy into that way more than they believe the expert that doesn't have the vulnerabilities or the journey.
Elizabeth, let's talk more about platforms. Where do we even start? I mean, there are so many different platforms out there, and yet I would think that it would be impossible to really create a community on each one of these platforms. Help us with that.
There's so many choices these days. I've helped writers have Facebook groups for their launch. Facebook groups are kind of what put me on the map because marketers wanted something really tangible to tie into community building. However, you can build a community on any platform. And I even see TikTok right now has tremendous community potential when it comes to how you show up there, but it can be any platform. I mean, Threads, LinkedIn, podcasting, YouTube. I mean, all of these platforms will work. So I always encourage people to do the one that feels the most aligned and authentic to them. So you and I love podcasting. Like, this is such an incredible way to use our voice and to connect with people. I love listening to people and connecting with their voice. I'm an auditory learner. That's what really serves me to show up. And obviously, if I'm my best, then I'm serving my community and my clients in the best way possible. I want to encourage people not to follow the shiny object or the newest trend, but to think about if you are going to show up for this for the next years, right? Infinitely, or however long you're working on the project, what's going to really excite you and feel playful and simple at the same time? Not necessarily just because you saw it work for somebody else.
Yes, I think such wise words. And it's funny because before you even said the word podcast, that we both enjoy podcasting, it went through my mind. Yes, that's how I really sort of started building my community,
Yeah.
was that I felt that this idea of doing podcasts really appealed to me. And as you know, I mean, I said to you, I love doing it on audio only. I start getting far too into myself when I'm on video. So I was like, okay, let's just do audio. That's what you enjoy doing. Interviewing people, I love doing that.
Mm,
And we've been doing it now for 10 years.
yeah.
And it doesn't get old. I
Mm-mm.
still love it. And I think I love it even more because I know that listeners are getting so much out of the podcasts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it works both ways. It's helping me, but at the same time, I want it to help other people because that was the whole idea,
Yeah.
that I want to put things out that are going to help listeners, nonfiction authors, take their book to another level with all the
Mm-hmm.
expertise that comes out of the words from my great experts who I have on the show. So, yes, let's keep talking about this and the building. I mean, you help people build 6, 7 figure businesses out of a community based marketing. That blows my mind. Let's dig into how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, well, I have to, give them credit. It's their vision and their business, and I'm just helping them position it in a way and position themselves in a way that is of the highest frequency. And a lot of deep leadership work comes into play. So I'm also an NLP practitioner, which I don't know if you've heard of NLP or had NLP
Oh,
tests. You probably
yes. Oh,
okay, yeah.
yes.
You speak that language. there's a lot of work when it comes to building community that actually has to do with ourselves and how do we operate from the highest frequency possible so that we have that kind of magnetic attraction. It's not just saying the right things. It's not having the right platform. It's truly showing up to serve, like you said, and to help people. And people can sense that. They can sense the authenticity. They can sense our authority. I do things that are as simple as sitting down with a CEO and we practice their elevator pitch over and over and over until I call it what I say a 10 out of 10 certainty. So if you're on stage and you're introducing yourself, or you're on a podcast and you're introducing yourself, you want to be able to say it with that 10 out of 10 certainty frequency. And most people are like at a 7 or an 8, which is why they're not seeing the sales or the community that they want to. It's a small difference, but people are only going to believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. That sounds like not what people would expect when it comes to community building, but it's the most important piece.
Yeah, it's always about how you show up.
Yeah.
Because yes, you want to be authentic, but you also want to be able to tell people how you're able to help them and get out of the jargon. We often fall into that, and people don't often ask, well, what do you mean by that? They'll just let it pass. But at the end of the day, they're not understanding, and a confused mind doesn't buy. So it's that clarity that is so important. Something simple, just as starting with that elevator pitch. Amazing. I would not have thought of that as sort of almost like the beginning step.
Yeah, I mean, it's one simple example, but it's so important. I mean, so many people over-explain, right? Like, have you ever met someone and they're trying to explain to you what they do in their business? And they're like, and then, I was inspired by my grandmother, and they've completely lost you. And you're like, I don't really understand, but you just kind of smile and nod versus something really clean and simple. Like, hey, I help people build community around their brand so that marketing is actually really simple, period, at the end of the sentence. And then people lean in and they say, oh, tell me more about that. And that's what you want. Or you want someone to say, tell me how you got into that. We want to introduce ourselves in a way that is short and concise and confident, and then be okay with the pause and then allow the person to ask for more information versus the over-explaining tendencies.
And that happens because when I have a conversation for the first time with an author and I say, what's the book about? That's exactly what happens. That they do not have that elevator's pitch for the book yet.
Yes.
That's something I like to help them work on.
Yes. And how do you build a community if you can't tell one person about your book in a way that has them lean in?
And say, tell me more, which 3 words that I absolutely love. And the same message I say, you want to position it in such a way that people will say to you, well, tell me more. You don't have to give them everything on the first go.
Yes. There's an assumption sometimes that people think I need to say the perfect thing so this person automatically wants to buy from me. And when really it's like step 1 is just pique their curiosity, make it clean and simple and say it with confidence. It's like black cat energy sometimes is what I like to call it, of like, I'm so confident and comfortable in what I do. There's no need for me to over-explain it.
That's so beautiful. I love that black cat.
I'll come to you and I'll tell you a little bit, but then, it's your turn to ask for more.
Exactly. And questions are so powerful. Why not even start with a question that relates to the other person?
100%. That's community building 101. Like when you go to an event.
I passed.
You passed because this was, really entry level what I would teach people though. But when you go to an event, people are there because they want to feel seen and heard. And if you focus more on listening to other people than you do on introducing yourself, you actually become the most memorable person in the room. Because I'm going to go home and I'm be like, oh my God, I had the greatest conversation with Susan. I told her all about this and all about that. Because you listen, I'm actually going to go home saying, I had a great conversation with Susan. It's the reverse of what we think. It's not like we have to say this magical thing to somebody, but if we can hold space for them, then they will remember us.
Oh, so wonderful. I'm hearing my words out of your mouth.
Oh, I love that.
Talk about synergy there.
Yeah, I
So
love
I
that.
know we've talked about one of the mistakes, and obviously, as we said, is that not being short, sweet, concise about what you want to tell people. But what else? What other mistakes do you find that people are making that are really reversing their opportunities to this community-based marketing?
Okay, so let's do another tangible one that people can leave this episode and walk away with something that they can do super quick. I imagine most of your authors are using social media, right? And Facebook groups specifically, but when you think about platforms like Threads, even Instagram now, but any type of community, whether you have a circle community or Discord, it doesn't matter. But 80% of your content can be one line or less in the form of a question. So I love that you brought up questions. A mistake people make is they want to go on social and they want to post this big long paragraph or this big long story, which does work. There's a time and a place. But when it comes to building community, again, people want to be seen and they want to be heard and they want to be able to act fast. What is a question that people can answer really quickly as they're scrolling? An example I love to use is ask your community, what is one new skill that you learned recently? They can answer that really fast and it gives them an opportunity to brag about themselves. They might say, I learned to ride a bike last week, but they might also say, hey, Susan, I did the thing that you told me to do and it was amazing. And now you've got social proof, you're starting conversations. It doesn't matter if they answer in relevancy to business or not, because the goal is to build community. Even if they said, I learned to ride a bike, you can engage in that conversation and nurture that community. But 80% of content being one line or less is so easy and valuable. And even on Facebook, it's like you can use their big, ugly text boxes. You don't even have to make everything branded and pretty. But that's where the engagement comes in versus, oh, let me just go and like blabber about myself and what I did yesterday. That's a tangible example, but that's a mistake I see all the time. It's like over explaining in the form of social media.
It's very interesting the way you said that too. And what came to mind was one of my colleagues who, as she's explaining what she does, gets very technical.
Mm,
And what was pointed out to her recently was add a little bit of emotion,
hmm
pull out the emotional side of your business and
hmm
what you can do and how you can help people. That is far more powerful than ever telling them the ingredients and how to use something. People don't necessarily, that's sort of not what people want. They want to know, how's it going to help me? Is it going to help me look prettier? Is it going to help me be healthier? Is it going to help me save time, save money? How's it going to help me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. People will lose me so quickly in the logic or in the weeds. If I leave an event, I'm quickest to be disappointed by a speaker if I'm like, I didn't feel anything. They gave me great
Mm,
information, but like, I want to feel something. That's a really good point. And that's a big piece of community building is can you express yourself in that way that people can really feel in their body and their nervous system and what it is that you're sharing. And then they're going to digest the tips so much easier.
yes. And gives them opportunities to say, well, how can I do that? And
Yeah.
that's when you can start introducing the logical side or what you're selling and why it's going to help them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
It's,
love
it's
that.
funny because it's community building, but it's all really ingrained in seeing the law of attraction and the type of leaders that you admire and what are they doing that you like so much and the communities that you're a part of, like what are they getting right? We can learn so much about ourselves through observation. Our brain just thinks in the opposite of like, oh, I've just got to tell everyone about what I'm doing and they're going to love it. It's like, it's just the opposite.
Well, and that translates when authors are talking about their book. Well, if I tell
hmm
you enough about the book, you're going to love it. As
hmm
you say, that's actually counterproductive than it is being
Yeah.
helpful. But hey, you're not necessarily going to sell the books if there's no interest really sparked in there But if you involve me in a conversation and then they see, oh, wow, if I purchase this book, then I'm going to learn more of that wisdom that this expert has tried to share.
Your audience is fiction, right?
Audience is nonfiction.
Audience is nonfiction. Okay.
Yes. And the fiction is actually easier sometimes, I feel. I interviewed somebody recently, a young lady who, in fact, is an influencer on TikTok. Her book is fiction, and she involved people right from the get-go with the characters and what was happening, and asked for suggestions, etc. And so the community was involved, which is a little different for a nonfiction author.
Yeah, this would be really interesting to look at those differences when it comes to community building, because I was just sitting here thinking about some of the fiction books that I've read and how I've seen community just go crazy. But as a business owner and someone obsessed with self-development, I'm in like the nonfiction is what I love to read and geek out with my friends. And I talked about one this morning at one of our business meetings. And I think it's that golden nugget of wisdom that you get from a book that you share over and over again, you know, and when that's your book, the people that are listening, when that's your book, that's community-based marketing. When people are sharing that one sentence that they remember where they were sitting when they read it, and they share it over and over. And I have so many books like that.
Yeah, and what came to mind too was something like Atomic Habits and how James Clear has broken things down to the lowest common denominator. He's made it simple. And even his newsletters, he gives 1, 2, 3. And people are like, oh, that's easy for me to consume. I hate it if there's just blocks of text and it's in 2-point type. You can barely read it. I was like, I don't have the bandwidth for this. So, yes.
I mean, I think a lot about the book Big Magic, because that was a book that I was told to read so many times. And it actually took me a couple tries to get through it. But there's the one line about, and I'm sure you've probably heard this 100 times, but to like a non-writer, it's like this landed with me so much of like, you should never write a book for anyone else. You should always write it for yourself. And that one line, that piece of that book that I will take with me forever, not because I didn't know that to be true, but to read it and have that experience of it, it landed in a different way. It's true, not just for writers, but business owners, content creators, like we have to really create from that authentic and vulnerable and for our mission, our purpose, our dharma. And then the right people will find it versus like, I got to find the people.
Yes. Oh, such wisdom. Whoa, listeners. This is a fantastic segue, Elizabeth, for you to tell our listeners more about how they can find you and your services. And of course, you've got this incredible podcast as well. Take it away.
I have a podcast. It's called the Messy Success Podcast. We are a little over 200 episodes. We have a lot of fun over there. It's a lot of behind the scenes of my business and, again, taking people on the journey. I love Instagram. So I'm on Instagram at elizabeth.henson. And my website is elizabethhenson.co. Everything's really easy to find. I appreciate that so much. And I just love geeking out on business and self-development and community building.
As our listeners could hear. Yes. As you know, Elizabeth, we always have our guests leave our listeners with a golden nugget. What's yours?
I would say for your listeners, your business, your writing business is still a business, is only going to grow as much as you do. So that self-development piece is the work. This is something that I've learned and that all of my mentors and coaches have taught me too. And entrepreneurship will throw you into that world of self-development faster than any other. I always remind myself to never stop learning because the more I grow, the more my business can grow.
Love that. Oh, that's my recipe as well. Never stop learning. Yes.
And there's a reason, right? There's a reason that all of us start to think in that way, you know, who've had a business for a long time. There's a reason that that's a common thread.
Yes, very much so. Because if you're not ripening, you're rotting. And we don't want that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elizabeth, this has been amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And listeners, go back and listen to this. There was so much wisdom. And start working on that community-based marketing for yourselves and start small. Yeah, listen
Yeah.
to what Elizabeth had to say.
Yes. And I did want to mention if you want some of my conversation starters, so I mentioned the short one-line questions. You can find that on my little gift page that I know you'll put in the show notes, but elizabethhenson.co/gift. We have a conversation starter freebie that has 20 of them that you can choose and test in your own communities.
Perfect. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
You're
We'll
welcome.
definitely put that in the show notes. Hey, listeners, you got an added benefit now, so take advantage of it. If your book isn't selling the way you wanted or expected to, let's you and I jump on a quick call together to brainstorm ways to ramp up those sales because you've invested a whole lot of time, money, and energy, and it's time you got the return you were hoping for. So go to bookmarketingbrainstorm.com to schedule your free call. And in the meantime, I hope this powerful interview sparks some ideas you can use to sell more books. Until next week, here's wishing you much book and author marketing success.